Hello and welcome to today's episode of Rich, Simple, Human. You're dialing in and it's August. It's hot, steamy and sweaty. Well, it has been some of the time, depending on where you're listening from. And if I look at my reader profile or my listener profile, you're listening from all over the world. So where you are might not even be summer. But if it's summer for you, this is going to help you. And if it's not summer, this is also going to help you, because today we're talking about recovery. In fact, we're talking about recovery maxing. Why are we doing that? Because it's trending on TikTok. So what's trending on TikTok? Of course, looks maxing, fitness maxing, sleep maxing. Everything is about maxing. It used to be about biohacking. We've also talked, if we're grown up, about longevity, living longer, basically because we're afraid of death. But what I'm going to talk to you about today is the 3 pieces of data you should be watching on your wearable health tracker that will really help you do your recovery maxing properly. Why am I so animated about this? Because I am a little bit tired of people telling me they're in the green. They've got a great score percentage-wise. They're watching their Oura, Whoop, Garmin or whatever it is, and the data says, well done. Well, it may well say well done, but there's an algorithm and you need to dig a little bit deeper. Why is that? Because you need to know what your numbers are. It's no good saying, well done, you're really fit, if you're comparing yourself to everybody else on a walk. What we want to do is be comparing ourselves against our data from before. So stay listening. I'm going to talk you through a back to basics. What 3 pieces of hard data should you look at and understand on your biometric wearable for recovery maxing? Why should you be maxing out your recovery? Well, if you're an endurance athlete, recovery is where it's all at. If you're watching the Tour de France at the moment, as I am, because I'm a keen cyclist, in fact, I'm riding a stage of the female event this week, you will notice that they are all about recovery. In fact, you will have seen the fact they've now got ice baths in the back of their vans. They are all wearing Whoop bands and they are obsessed with recovery, because this is what truly makes the difference to performance. Now, I know some of you are going to be arguing that there's a few other tips and tricks happening on the Tour de France. We're not going to go into the controversy of doping or any other tools and techniques they may be using, legal or not. We are going to talk about recovery. Why? Because everybody wants to have more energy. And if you want to have more energy, how do you get more energy? You recover better. You rest better. You recover better. You fuel better. And then you feel better. This is also really important if you are looking to lose weight, get fitter, sleep better, cope with the menopause better, deal with your masculine midlife crisis, whatever it is you're dealing with. When you recover better, you perform better. You cannot continue to push. If you're under 30, this might not apply. I can talk from experience here. I pushed so hard I thought I was bionic. In fact, I probably was bionic because I was young. I could do anything and everything. And when it got tough, I just went harder. But I must tell you, once you get to 45, basically it doesn't work. You can't go hard or go home because you're running out of space. Your cognitive and mental and physical capacity is reducing. Sorry to say, you are getting older. So recovery maxing is where it's at. Why is this important? Because you want to live long, you want to live well, and you want to enjoy your life. Longevity is a funny old term, isn't it? Do we really want to live longer? Or do we want to live with more purpose and more legacy and feel like we're leaving the world a better place than when we arrived? Now, of course, that's also very difficult. We could be segueing now very nicely into a conversation about trust and faith. Do we have trust and faith that the world will eventually become better than it is now? Many cynics will be saying no. The end of the world is nigh. This is the end. AI is coming and we are now seeing the end of humanity. But if we have faith and trust in something greater than ourselves, then we can make the confident and brave emotional decision that something better is coming. I'm totally coming away from recovery maxing, but purpose and faith has been shown to be a very, very strong indicator of longevity. That and VO2 max, of course, but we're now muddling up all sorts of different things into the same bucket. I'm not muddling them at all. You actually can't take them apart. So the work that I do, remember, always covers 6 pillars. Just to remind you, they are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relational, and financial. And I'm not talking about whether you've got loads of cash or not. I'm talking about your mindset. Are you approaching life with an abundant mindset, or are you approaching it with scarcity? Are you confident in your financial finish line? And are you able to live well with intent and a really great feeling of gratitude? Digressing again, which pieces of data are you going to watch in your Whoop, Oura, Garmin, or Morpheus, whatever you're using, to really make a difference? You're not going to look at whether it says red, yellow, or green. You're not going to look at whether it says Percentages, you're going to look at hard data. The first piece of data you're going to look at is resting heart rate, or RHR. I've been working with this data for the last 5 years. I have worked with hundreds of clients. Your resting heart rate is really, really important because A, it will show you how strong your heart is, but B, it will also show you if you're getting fitter. It will also show if you're suffering from poor and slow recovery, any kind of illness or other issues. Now, I'm not a cardiologist, but if your resting heart rate 6 months ago was 50 and now it's 60, what's going on? Have you suddenly got loads of weight on your body that's creating a strain on your heart? Are you taking medication? Are you suffering from stress? Are you drinking too much? There's a lot of issues or facets to this. But what is your resting heart rate right now? Do you know? Because lots of people say it's great. And then I say, what's the number? And they say, I don't know. That's a bit like saying, my finances are in a great state. How much have you got in your reserves? I don't know. But the bank manager said it's great. Well, that's brilliant, but that's not agency. Personal agency is knowing your numbers. Know your resting heart rate. Watch your resting heart rate. If you went out yesterday and did a massive run and your resting heart rate is normally 48 because you're really fit, and this morning you woke up and it's 60, you need to back off big style because you're not recovered yet. So don't suddenly go and do a load more cardio. So obvious. Go easy. Also, if you had a 10-point jump in your resting heart rate from yesterday to today, you might be unwell. That might be signaling that your body is really fighting something. Go easy. Drink some water, up your protein, take some electrolytes, back off a bit, go to bed early, etc. Behaviour change because of the data. The data on its own is great, but it's not enough. You need to know why and take corrective action. Of course, there are millions of people in the world now, in the West, of course, I'm not talking about underdeveloped countries, who are wearing these trackers and ignoring the data. And they're just busily saying, oh, it's great, it's great. Or they're just seeing it's green, green, green. And they're like, oh, it's green, it's green. And then when I actually look at the data and say, that's a bit weird, your resting heart rate's really high. They're like, oh, better than it was last year. Okay, so you're in the green, that's brilliant, but you're still perhaps not very fit, or you're perhaps suffering from obesity, or you've perhaps got some other challenges. We can't rely on the algorithms in these pieces of technology all the time. We do need to take agency over our data. So resting heart rate, resting heart rate, resting heart rate. Check it, check it, check it, check it, check it. If it's higher or going up, take it easy. If it's higher this month than it was last month, what training have you done? Are you getting less fit? Is there something else going on? I would also say that if it's Monday morning and you've woken up and your resting heart rate's really high, you're going to find it a little bit more difficult to manage your emotions because your heart is beating faster. We all know what resting heart rate is. It's the speed at which your heart is beating at rest over a certain period of time, depending on what piece of tracking data you're using. If that's really high, you're going to be really struggling to control your emotions more than if it was really low and you were super relaxed. So please, 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 please look at your resting heart rate. Number 2, heart rate variability, the number. I want you to know your number. I don't want you to say it's great, or it's red, or green, or yellow, or the recovery score is 100% or 80%. Percentage of what? Do you know your numbers? Percentage of your actual figure. Now, heart rate variability is a really difficult conversation because I have clients who can have a heart rate variability as low as 7, and I have other clients who are touching 300. Now, there are many, many reasons for that, and we're all built differently. I'm not as tall as some people. I'm smaller than other people. I'm bigger than other people. I've got a different colour hair, different colour eyes. We're all different, which is amazing. Aren't we unique? Isn't it wonderful? It's that exciting to be alive. But when you know what your heart rate variability is normally at rest, you can help use it to gauge what's going on in your nervous system. So if you are somebody whose resting heart rate variability is normally 278, for example, and you woke up this morning and it was 240, you can accurately say to yourself, today my nervous system is less relaxed than yesterday. What does that mean? My nervous system has diagnosed somewhere something it considers to be a threat, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, whatever. There's a threat. It's perceiving a threat somewhere. It may not be an actual threat. I may not have wolves at the door or pine martens in my garden, as I had yesterday, making noise. But what is causing this threat to my nervous system? Is it that I'm worried about something? Have I got some anxiety? Is there something coming up? Have I got a child that's gone somewhere? Have I got something happening at work? Is the board coming to investigate? Am I about to go and speak to my investors? What's happening? Then you can say to yourself, great, well, that's good news that my body's registering this threat. What am I going to do about it? I'm going to breathe. I'm going to journal. When we say it out loud, we know our bodies react. So when we speak out an emotion, we know that our body can deal with it. We are externalizing and processing the emotion. We are not stuffing it down. Emotions, energy in motion. We let it out. Oh, I feel anxious. I notice I'm experiencing this emotion. Gosh, I'm not my emotion. I'm just experiencing this emotion, a bit like it's hot or cold. Oh, I wonder what that's related to. There it is. Okay, I've diagnosed it. Move on. Not, I feel a little bit, I don't know what it is. I'll drink on top of it, or I'll go for a run because I want to get rid of it. We're just processing. Your heart rate variability is a brilliant way of doing that. It's super high. Oh, I'm relaxed. I've got great gratitude. I had a wonderful weekend. I saw somebody I loved. I did something I enjoyed. I went to the cinema, whatever it is you like doing. Know your HRV, your heart rate variability. Know the gaps between your heartbeats, which signals when your body's in fight or flight and rest and digest. Now, I was a bit mean in starting at the top end, talking about somebody whose HRV is nearly 300. Let's go to the normal range that I see in my clients. Remember, my clients are all a certain age, predominantly more men than women, predominantly clients over 45. I specialise in that mid-50s male category. I love it because they're the ones who are really running out of energy and really pushing hard. And they're the ones who get great results when they back off, when they move from intelligence and intellect, pushing, grinding, into wisdom and intuition. That is where the magic happens. How do you do that? Dial it down physically, mentally, and emotionally. You step it up in terms of emotional depth, emotional range, emotional granularity, and you begin to see how you access this second way of living. Dr. Arthur Brooks, most amazing person in the world. Read all his books. He is fab. Dr. Lisa Miller, I always talk about her as well. Really, really good research on why this works, how it works, the neuroscience behind it. HRV. So I was just talking about the lower end range. So I see clients who are normally floating around 30 to 80. So you wouldn't normally expect somebody to be swinging from 30 to 80, but sometimes people do, which is great. They've got a great range. That also might mean that they get really high, super chilled, and then they get super stressed, all the other way around. Flatlining HRV is normally a very, very rigid nervous system where people don't have much range. They're always on, stuck on, or sometimes they can be flat because they are more of a depressive type. That's less likely to be my client, but I have seen it. You want to see a range. You want to know at the weekend when you're relaxing, it's going up. You go back to work, of course, it's coming down a bit. You have a drink, it's going to drop back down. You recover, it comes back up. You train, it might go down the next day, it goes back up again. But you want to see yourself recovering, and you want to see that pattern. You want to see the gentle wave. You don't want to see the zooming up, falling down, staying up for a week, having a holiday, goes down again. We're looking for balance. We're looking for the Yerkes-Dodson optimal performance curve. And we're looking for seasons of pushing, seasons of resting, seasons of working, seasons of relaxing. Can I see that in my clients' data? Yes, those who do what they're told are able to demonstrate that across the year. So July and August, people are normally taking holidays. Christmas can be quite stressful, but hopefully they have taken a bit of a break. Of course, there's always family and drinking going on. But we're looking to see the fact that we are having seasons of turning on and turning off. If you're taking a Sabbath, oh my gosh, please do have a day off, have a day away from your phone. Do you really need your phone on all the time? Quickest way to trash your data. So I hear you asking, Lindsey, tell me what's the third piece of data I should be looking at on my wearable to really help change my life? Because I identify as an athlete. I feel like I'm a high performer. I've got all this data because I want to perform well, and I'm not just going to ignore it or just read the algorithm. I'm actually going to understand it. This is a bit like going to the supermarket and buying a meal because it says healthy on the packet. Have you actually looked at the ingredients? What does healthy actually mean? Because remember, it's subjective. If you're looking at your data and it just says percentage-wise, what does that actually mean? What data is it actually reading? What's it actually telling you? What are the actual ingredients here? If you look at HRV, resting heart rate, and wait for it, the third one, sleep. There you have it. Those are the raw ingredients of the algorithms in your wearable tracker. Sleep. So which bits of your sleep should you be looking at? Well, of course, duration is always important. I'm always going to want to see more than 7 hours. Otherwise, what are you doing? There's 24 hours in the day. Why can't you spend more than 7 of them asleep? Now, I'm also being a bit mean because I also know that as we get older, it becomes much more complicated. So what corrective action can you take to improve your sleep? Well, going to bed early is really important. So you're not only going to look at your sleep duration, but you're also going to look at your sleep composition. Are you taking notes? In any tracker that you're wearing, you will find your sleep composition. And it's normally broken down into deep, REM, and light. They are important because your body's doing different things in those phases. Now, I am not a sleep expert. In fact, I have been reading about orthosomnia. This is the obsession with sleep data that actually stops you sleeping. Now, there aren't many people around like that, but there are, of course. Are you totally obsessed with your sleep? You might be. Is it helping you or harming you? That's up for you to decide. But have a look at your data and look at it properly, because there's no point beating yourself up on one piece of data when you might have some really good data somewhere else. And then we're going to build on that. It's the broaden and build theory. So when you go into your sleep, what are you looking for? Deep, REM, and light. You want to see fairly balanced REM with deep. Because if you're not, there's something happening there. What is going on? Now, you might have a noisy neighbour, which is stopping you getting the deep sleep that you want. So you're spending your whole night in REM sleep, which is your dream state. That's going to be really uncomfortable because your deep sleep is where your body is doing the recovery. That's where it's doing the repair work. It's the only time when your body's totally relaxed. If you've got an injury, you really need to make sure you're getting enough deep sleep. REM is your processing piece. It's your mental and emotional processing. If you're not getting enough REM, you may find that you're more emotional. You're finding it harder to process mentally. If you're doing exams, you want to make sure you're having lots and lots of deep and lots of REM. How do we do that? There's a million different ways, isn't there? I can start saying, take magnesium, etc. Let's start hacking. Or I can start saying, buy earplugs, go in a cool bedroom. There's millions and millions of ways of changing our environment. But what's actually happening? When we've got the data, we can then design the protocol. And then once you've got a protocol, then normally working with a practitioner will help you implement that and keep you accountable. There's loads and loads of AI functionality in all of these wearables now, which is really exciting. You can use it. It might be accurate, it might not. Mine told me the other day that I should have a more consistent bedtime and not drink, which I thought was hilarious because I don't drink. So why is it suddenly thinking I did? Anyway, it's just made it up, as AI does. But you can use all this data when you know what you're looking for, because that will help you become more intelligent and it will give you the agency over your data. So sleep. How much REM are you getting? How much deep are you getting? And how much light sleep? Are you going to bed and you're awake all night? You just think you're awake all night? Or are you really, what's really going on? You don't need to go to a sleep lab. You need to just look at your data properly. You can interrogate it. It's all in there. It's very exciting. There's all sorts of information in there, but I'm not going to talk about all of it. All I'm going to do today is talk about those three things. So recovery maxing. What data do you really need to look at and what's really going to make a difference? Well, I've been over them and I'm going to go over them again. Heart rate variability, the actual number. Resting heart rate, the actual number. And sleep, the actual numbers, the hours, minutes of deep REM and light. I really, really would encourage you to look at the numbers. Go beneath the curtain of the algorithm. Go beneath the red, yellow, green, or percentage scores, or whatever else it's doing. Because all it's doing is using the data you've given it and using an algorithm to predict, which is great, but it's really, really good to know your numbers, because comparison is the thief of joy. Actually, here it's important because you're comparing your own data to your own data and you're beginning to understand why you're doing it. And when you understand it, when you measure it, you can monitor it, you can manage it. Have I got you excited? Are you scrabbling around now to find your wearable, to find the app, to go in and look at what your numbers look like? And then can you compare them over the last week, month, 3 months, and 6 months? And can you start spotting patterns and trends? That's exciting, because then you're in control of your data and you're understanding it a bit more deeply. Then when you do have an AI recommendation from one of the functionalities that it's got, it's going to make a lot more sense. You can then choose. There's a great piece in the paper today about an AI diagnostic that somebody was running that was actually telling them there was nothing wrong with them, and then they had something seriously wrong with them. And I think they're taking the AI company to court because it was wrong. The data is a mirror. It's reflecting back what you're giving it. Can you really understand it? Can you really see it? If your resting heart rate is over 60 beats per minute and you're under 40, you should be asking yourself questions. You should certainly be going to see a cardiologist and saying, look, what's going on here? There may be a very simple explanation, but your Whoop will probably just, or your Oura will just be saying, it's lower than it was before, or it's not going to give you that kind of information. So you need to know your numbers. In the same way, your scales won't necessarily change your behaviour. Your scales will weigh your body weight. Now, if I'm weighing myself, if I am a white female with a certain body composition, in some categories I might be considered to be extra, extra large. For example, if I go to Japan or China, I'm going to be far bigger. And this is all relative. So you do need to dig beneath, go below. I hope that helps. I would love you to go back to basics and look at your recovery maxing by looking at your real data and understanding what it means. You've spent your money on the device. You might as well understand how to use the data and build yourself a protocol. Keep yourself accountable. That's not easy, is it? But it's nice to talk about this with your friends. I'm always talking to my friends about this. In fact, I was on the phone to my lovely friend Maria this morning, chatting away about our data because we love it. It's really interesting. And we identify as athletes and we identify as people that really care about optimal performance. We really care about living full and long lives. And we really have got important work to do here on Earth. And we need to be fit and ready for that. So that's why we always think about our data and we really think about what we're going to do. I was also talking to somebody else today about the theory that your heart only has 3 billion beats in it. This is an interesting piece of theory. So if you've only got 3 billion beats in your heart, don't use them all up at once. If you are hoping to be fit and healthy, you probably want to make sure that your heart rate is right. I don't know how true that theory is. I'm going to do some more research, but I thought that was so interesting. If we've only got 3 billion beats, how are we going to use them? Do you want to use them being stressed and running away from the bank manager or whoever it is, or do you want to relax and enjoy your life? Anyway, that's all from me. Please go to richsimplehuman.com, lindseyfrances.co.uk. Please sign up for the newsletter. Of course, you will always get some information from me about what I'm talking about, any resources I found, and watch out for the new AI-enabled diagnostics that will be coming very soon. How exciting to be able to see more about how to become a rich and simple human. Until next time, please share this episode with anybody that might be interested. Anybody you see wearing a wearable tracker, Whoop, or a Garmin or the like, please share it. The podcast only grows because you share it. I do not pump money into advertising on any social media platforms. I simply don't believe in it. But that does mean growth is slow. But the most important thing is we know it goes to people who really care, and you're one of them. So thank you for listening. And until next time, stay rich, simple, and human.